Hello. Oops. Hello.
There we go. Can
Hi,
you see
happy
me? I feel like
Saturday.
that's the question to ask before we even
Yes,
go.
I
Like, can you
can.
see me?
I can. We're two for two.
Gotta make sure the technical difficulties ain't being technical or difficult
That
today.
part. That part. Yes. Happy Saturday.
Welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. Welcome, y'all, to Healing Conversation. This is Sister Angelique and I, safe space that we come together every Saturday. We talk all things healing, expansion, and growth, and we bring real life experiences that we may be moving through into this space. And we invite you to bring your real life experiences, something that resonates, something that you want to contribute. Go ahead and leave a comment. Go ahead and send a request to come up on the stage, and we truly I feel like as we heal individually, we support the collective ripple of healing amongst everyone by being the example of what it looks like.
Yes. And I'm always so grateful to be in this space. I'm always so grateful to hear what y'all have to say because it helps me to heal. This space has served me so much, and I just love looking forward to Saturdays and having these conversations. So, yeah, that's all I got to say, honestly.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
ready to dive in.
And I know that we kind of had
Hey,
an idea what we want to
Sandra.
talk about yesterday. Hey, Sandra, but I feel called to a different topic today.
Go for it.
And the reason being is because we have a special announcement that we're going to be speaking about in regards to healing conversation. And I didn't want to give y'all double dose of what the announcement is and then give you what it is today. So I wanted to leave that for once it is out and accessible and available. So today, what's really on my heart, and this was really coming to me, and I feel like this is going to support a lot of people in bringing awareness and even moving through some emotions that may be stored within you. And what is really strong for me, so last Thursday, our friend Leah Abraham, she holds a space, Trauma Drama. It's via Zoom, it's every Thursday, and it's just everything that's about trauma, specifically about like sexual abuse, but it doesn't limit to that. She opens it up to just anything that is traumatic that you may want to bring to the space. And this past week, they were talking about Mother's Day,
Hmm.
and just different people were sharing about their experiences and like just certain things that may have affected them, certain growths that they may have seen based on their response. And my contribution, hey Janelle, to it, because and I'm gonna share this, but I didn't say it then. But like a lot of people were speaking in regards to like just things that were not so good that had impacted them from the Mother's Day experience. But me, I had an opposite. Like I actually had some growth in
Hmm.
regards to that day and my mother and our experience. And I felt like I have been doing a lot of internal work and releasing like expectations, releasing even that label, and seeing her for like a soul that's having this human experience. And I've been doing a lot of my shadow work,
Hmm.
my unworthiness, my abandonment, my rejection, and it's supported me in so many ways because when I'm in the encounter with her, I am not as reactive as I used to be. I ain't gonna act and say like, oh, I'm over here on the other side of the field, but I see the progress and the steps that I've been taking, and I notice that the more I just want to see her as a soul, that's what I get to experience,
Hmm.
and I'm able to have that like connection in regards to listening to her, letting her listen to me, honoring when I don't feel like there's a flow of exchange as far as us in communication. And I feel like for me, like it's giving me that space for grace. And when I say space for grace, meaning like someone who is in the coaching realm, in the coaching field, who supports others move through things that they're experiencing, I'm able to see her in a sense, not like a client, but not my client.
Mm.
Meaning, if someone comes to me and they have a lot of things that they are feeling stuck in, or this is negative energy in, I'm able to see, help them like mirror and see things through a different lens, but I'm seeing them and supporting them as an observer. So I'm finding myself being able to observe versus being lost in. And I wanted to bring this to the space today because a lot of times we don't realize where our patterns, our habits, our self belief, our feeling of self worth, and even where we feel stagnant and not wanting to take action towards things we want to do. A lot of times we don't know where that stems from, and a lot of times we're thinking it's us. We're maybe thinking we're incompetent, that we're not able, that we are just not enough.
Mm.
And a lot of us, we think, well, it's the job, it's the relationship, the current job, the current relationship, the current friendship, or the current thing. But there's so much under the water. Hey, Nave, so much under the water that we often don't have the awareness that's there. And we often don't know that once we start to bring it up afloat, we're able to move through it and let it pass. And we're able to see that there is confidence within you. There is worth that is within you. There is love that is within you. But a lot of times we don't allow it to flow because we're holding it down by avoiding. We're holding it down by expecting. We're holding it down by projecting what we're not dealing with or facing within ourselves. And I just felt like I wanted to bring that to this space today because that was a holiday that just passed, and I feel like a lot came up for a lot of people, and I'm like, I don't know, I just felt like it would be spicy, juicy, and healing for not only others but for myself as we talk through it and just hear others' perspectives because I love to be the student because I ain't always the teacher, and I'll end it there.
Hmm. Okay, okay. I love it. I love that you decided to make this shift because I did miss that conversation. Um, and I did really want to join it. So I appreciate you bringing it up so that it can be had because there are some things that I wanted to unpack um, as far as that goes. And I feel like I'm similar to you with the progress that I've made with my maternal relationship for sure. Um, Over the past year or so, I have had a number of moments where I was able to see myself as an individual and see my mother as an individual and recognize that we are each living our own unique experiences. And as someone, like Raymel said, who holds space for others as service to the world, I'm learning to extend that grace to my mother. There was a conversation a couple weeks ago on Trauma Drama where they were discussing the mother wound and that idea, the truth that your mother, our mothers are human beings living, spiritual beings have a human experience, but they're having a human experience, right? And as children, we have a natural inclination to have expectations. Like we come into this world as little squishy, not able to talk or walk or, all of our needs are met by this individual or the person who is in that caretaking space, right? And so we are like built in with an expectation that you're going to take care of me. You're going to nurture me. You're going to respond when I cry. And as we go through childhood and adolescence and then into adulthood, which completely changes the game for a lot of our relationships with our parents, um, we start to learn about them and learn what they're actually capable of giving us. However, not many of us take the time to acknowledge and accept that what we want, they may not be able to give. So so say for myself, I grew up in um, I like to say upper lower class or lower middle class. It's very on the cusp there. Um, and my mom really did her best to get me into a good education. She did her best to make sure I was fed and that I had doctors and, I was taken care of biologically. Um, However, one of the things that I needed as a young person, as a child, was much more what I wanted and needed was more affection as a child, more closeness, more um, opportunity to feel open and safe to talk about things that were going on in my life. Um, and it wasn't until I got to high school, really, where I recognized that my mom didn't really have the capacity for that. And as a young person, and seeing some people have really great relationships with their mom, and they're like, I can talk to my mom about anything, and we're best friends, and we go shopping, and we just sit and cuddle on the couch and watch movies. I was like, ooh, ouch. I don't have that. And I kind of want it, but I'm being rebellious and kind of acting like I don't want it. Um, and so that's something that I've had to navigate as I've been unpacking how, the patterns and habits that I have in relationships. Um, not Leah, Lisa, and Stacy Henry Carr did a wonderful conversation about attachment styles that I watched recently. And going, hearing that and then, checking through my own upbringing, I could see how the relationship that I had with my primary caretaker, which was my mother, because my father is deceased, um, it really did shape how I feel like I can be close to people. I have this um, little seed in me that feels like I can't be too close to someone, even I've shared whatever, I'm willing to talk about my life, but being physically close to someone, it feels like that's not allowed. you know? And so I have this really kind of weird where I am a touchy feely person. And I also feel like I shouldn't be at sometimes, and then especially when it comes to dating or trying to get to know somebody, I'm not always so sure how close we can be or just how showing affection, you know. Um, and so I appreciate you bringing this to the table because I'm sure things will begin to unpack as we continue because they kind of already are, but I'm gonna
It
just
already
let that
is.
be there because there are some things that I'm gonna sit with this for a minute.
Yes, and I love that you said that a lot of times we wanted something from our parents that they didn't have the ability or capacity to give us. And I want to speak to because even now, I know for me, I didn't know anything about trauma, healing, self development, or anything of that nature until 2019.
Mm.
That wasn't something I even had awareness of. And it makes me think during the time of my mother growing up, and even in her adult life and just as she was navigating through life, there wasn't really much access to this self development work, this work, hey Sharon, this work of healing, and even there wasn't much of a conversation. And I know back in the day when I was a youth and in my teenage years, that word therapist was like you are, and pretty much you need to go to a psych ward.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to be in a straight jacket because you are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So of course, like being a having like hearing that when it came to that word therapy, of course, a lot of people shied away from it, and a lot of people weren't much open to it because, especially in certain cultures and communities, you're taught to just toughen up. You're taught just to like keep it moving, deal with it later. Like you ain't got time because you got things to do, money to make, life to live. And it wasn't something that was promoted like it is currently in 2025. And I'm so grateful because you have a plethora of different ways to do the inner work, to work on yourself. But I don't feel like that was available then. And when I know, like, as I've been more of the listener, as it has been like in the exchange of me and my mother, she's been through a lot of stuff. Like, I thought what I went through, and it doesn't negate my experience, but I like to say hers is triple what I've experienced. And as I hear it, I'm like, damn, oh, this makes sense. That makes sense. And dots have been connecting for me to why her parenting style was the way that it was, how she wasn't as available as I wanted her to be or needed her to be, why she was just always just out trying to. And when I really think about it, she was just trying to receive love. She was trying to receive attention. She was trying to receive something that she didn't know how to give us. So in a sense, we wanted, she was still trying to receive herself. And it makes sense now with the new set of eyes that I'm able to see it through. Like, wow, okay, so you weren't doing it intentionally. You just unconsciously didn't have the awareness or knowledge of how to even do it at all. And when we come from like dysfunctional families and just toxic environments when it comes to that realm, a lot of times, like instead of them, like people wanting to understand us and hold space for us, they judge us. And that's what I experienced of being a child with my mother, her being judged by other family. They would call her every name in the book, talk about her like she wasn't even a part of the family. And as a child, you observe that. And you absorb that, and you see like there's this part of me that wants to stand up for her, and like that's my mama, who you talking about? Like, no, not here. But then there was a part of me that was experiencing, in a sense, what they were talking about. So there was kind of full of like,
But
I
y'all
want to
right
fight for
though.
you, but then are you fighting for me or fighting for yourself? So there was this confusion I had as a child of not knowing which side to be on when it came to just what I would hear, but also what I would see. And there was this sense of like, there's always, I want to say, this special bond and connection we have to our mother, our parents, but our mothers in particular, because we're in a sense, we're one with them for 9 months, and then we emerge from them after that time is done, and then we become just our own, just expression of this human experience. And a lot of times, like I just sit and I felt so confused with like how to connect, how to navigate, how to even like just communicate with her. So I just wanted to bring that into the conversation because when we unpack what it was for them, then it can be kind of a space that you can try to understand. And it doesn't negate, I want to speak this, it doesn't negate or downplay whatever you may have experienced in your childhood because that is valid and that is true and it is real for you. But a way to move through it and to nurture your younger self is to allow yourself to feel your feelings, but also face what you may be avoiding or face what you may be running from because in that avoidance, in that I want to say abandon because you're abandoning what needs attention. it's going to keep following you. It's going to
Mm.
keep catching you. It's going to keep coming up for you in different ways that you show up in your friendships or in your romantic partnerships or your business ventures or even how you show up in the world as your own unique self. And as we start to just allow ourselves to release layers and let them shed, we start to see that there's so much love within us, so much worthiness that's within us. There's so much within us that wants to be expressed, but when we have emotions that are suppressed, repressed, and depressed, it keeps us in the space of victim. It keeps us in the space of feeling like there's no one or nothing that we have access to. And one thing that I've been really consciously just realizing and seeing is that I always have had love around me. And that touches my heart when I say that because I've always had love around me. I've always had people who supported me. I've always had, I like to say, earth angels that have been given to me. But then there was a part of me that didn't want to see that, that didn't want to receive that. Well, I knew this was going to bring up a lot, girl, because these emotions are already coming out. I feel them. But I didn't want to see it because I was so stuck in being in this narrative that I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anything. And I was just all alone on this journey. And
Mm.
that's never been true. But I fought to make it true because I wanted it to be really what I seen so I can have a reason to be in the anger, be in the sadness, and not be in the happiness and joy because everyone wants to save a victim
Mm.
and the victim always has to have a villain. But when you release that title and release that identity, you see that there's always in a sense been saviors around you reflecting to you that there's so much that you have access to. And I landed there because now I got to process. Ooh,
Hmm.
ooh, I knew it.
Yes. Wow. What was coming up for me um, earlier when you were sharing about the idea of going to therapy, I remember my mom took my brother and I to therapy. It was like family therapy. And I was maybe like 8. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Sister Jessica.
And I just remember feeling like I don't remember how it's kind of like this weird fever dream almost. Like it's so misty and distant, and even during that time it felt like a not real thing. Um but I remember we would go. I don't remember anything that's like specifically happened during the sessions because it really is just like that much of a behind a window, like a foggy window for me. Um, but I do remember like being in that space and like leaving after, and every time feeling like this was unproductive. And I feel like that experience like really did plant this seed in me that was like, well, two things are coming up for me. One, therapy isn't like really real. Like you can go to therapy, but it's not going to actually help anything. Um and the second thing that was coming up for me kind of as a an extension of that, the people, if you're going to like couples therapy or family therapy, the people have to be willing to be in therapy and actually be willing to do the work. And I'm acknowledging in this moment that as a child I was recognizing what I was recognizing was that they weren't into it, and I'm a child. So I'm just there. I'm like I said, I don't even have. I might have to hit up Stacy. You take me back and just figure out what actually happened because I don't remember clearly what that experience was. Um, but I do remember that it didn't seem like a serious thing. And as we've been talking about, um, like our mothers and their stories, I I don't want to say I wish, but I will say that there's a part of me now that knows how important therapy is and knows how important it is to have support, and processing your memories, your experiences, your beliefs. Um, and I'm not sure if that's something that my mother would be interested in, actually, genuinely. And I am okay with that now, like I I it's like I love her enough to see that she has had a lot of challenges and that she has built a certain belief about life and herself because of those challenges. And I would like lightness for her. However, I am still able to, again, accept and acknowledge that that may never be something that she's interested in. And still choosing to love her anyway. Still choosing to have compassion anyway. Still choosing to love myself anyway by not being in her presence 24/7. Because that's when the judgment and the resentment and the expectations would start to build up again, right? Because I'm seeing how she's moving and what she's doing, what she's saying, and my mind is like, why would you do that? Why would you say that? Why would you be this way? But when I'm over here and she's where she is, I can just hold her in love. And I think that's something that a lot of us have challenge with, especially with things like Mother's Day or Father's Day or birthdays or holidays or whatever. Um, Feeling like we have to be around people, like we have to be there and observe them and like have them be in our space, right? But we know when we go to Easter dinner or when we go over to visit for Mother's Day that it's triggering and that our judgment starts to rise and that our criticism starts to be projected. And but we're there to love these people. We're there to show love to our family, but when we're in that space, we're not feeling loving. And I think it's so important, and this is something that I found for myself, that if you really want to generate loving energy in your body and send it out to someone, it's important to recognize that when you're in that person's space, you don't feel loving. And just not lie to yourself because of social ideas or history or expectations, because it really does do more harm than good. Because I can tell you for the fact, when I was staying with my mom in 2023, it was really strained on our relationship. And I had to do a lot of inner work, a lot of that shadow work, really face my expectations. I had a lot of breakthroughs. However, kind of towards the end of my stay there, I remember Raymel and I had a conversation, and he's just like, stop re traumatizing yourself. Like if you feel like you need to step away or you feel like moving would be um, more beneficial to you, and he wasn't the only one who said that, um, then move. Then find somewhere else to be. Then do what's best for you. And so I just wanted to bring that into the conversation because yeah, a lot of the social structures and ideas of family and motherhood, being a child, honor thy mother and father. And we think that means being polite for others and showing up for others while neglecting ourselves. And that is not the case. And I'll just land that there.
Mm. Oh my goodness. So much. I want to read Sharon's comment. Sharon says, "How I feel this. Just when I chose to resume therapy this Thursday,
Mm,
it was really a journey towards me feeling like I even deserve support and help. Wow.
mm,
And yes, about understanding different people and my mom. Oh my God. I definitely resonate with that, Sharon. And two things come up for me as you just shared. And that piece of like just knowing when you're not receiving the love or when like just it's not in the reciprocation of what you're given. And what really is coming through for me is a dysfunctional conditional love that a lot of our parents have been taught.
mm,
Because I know that they're even in the romance realm, the more you argue, the more you fight, that's was interpreted as love. So that's how you know they love you is if they're fighting for you or if they're fighting with you. And that's how
mm,
you know they're really into you and they're really someone that you should be with. And I've seen that growing up. I've seen the fights, the arguments, the things being broken. And as a child, and I've seen it would happen, and then they will be back to so it's never happened. And that was like, oh, well, this is how you're supposed to be in a relationship. This is how you're supposed to express love. And what's really coming through for me strong right now is I know I can just, and this is not a fact, but this is what's like I am interpreting this. That's where my mother got how she projected onto us her understanding of love.
mm,
Because one thing I know for sure, and I had to really resonate with, like, my mother has always loved me. I just don't think she knew how to express it in a healthy way. So those like my mother, she talked down to me. She would make me feel as though she didn't want me there, but then I knew that she did.
mm,
Unconsciously, I knew that she did because I moved out of my mother's house at 14, but before that, I tried to go stay with my father for like a split second when I was like maybe like 8 or 9. And though, in a sense, I was getting out of the fire, I didn't like it there because I was used to the dysfunctional love. I was used to like the chaos. I was used to all the things. So for me, though I was experiencing what would be considered peace, it didn't pull me in and draw me in to want to stay because I'm like, well, I need to go back to my mama's house. I need to go back where the kids are. I need to go back with what I know.
mm,
And now I'm just really having this aha, like, well, if I experienced that growing up, her childhood was nothing short or far from that. So that means that she had those similar encounters, but was also like, well, this is family. This is family. This is what we do. We stay together. We stick together. We don't tell nobody. We just ride it out. And the beliefs is nothing more than a thought that you think over and over and over again, and you believe it's true. And a lot of people stay so committed to these beliefs of who they are, what things are, that it's not as easy for them to let it go.
mm,
Because then it's like, well, what is the new belief? What is the new thing? And a lot of times we're afraid to even to explore that. So we're just like, well, this this is the dysfunction. So I'm just gonna stay in this. This is the um, this is the fight. This is the thing, and a lot of times the love that we receive from our mothers is what they really have to give, and it kind of ties into like what you shared earlier. It's like often we expect something that they don't know how to give or they can't give, but in a sense, in the love realm, like that's the kind of love that they know how to give. But a lot of times, it is the toxic or it is the abusive. But I feel like it's still, in a sense, rooted in love, but they just it's covered with a lot of hurt and pain. So that's what we feel with like the outside of it, the hurt, the pain, but underneath it, it's just their form of love that they don't know how to express in a healthy way. Because as I've been doing more of the work of really like just releasing and getting the things outside of me, I'm like, I know she loves me. I never question that. But just in the way that I would have liked to receive it, I don't know if she knew how to give it to me. And even as we're speaking about like the therapy room, like my mother has done, or she does do therapy. It's covered with her insurance, so she's been doing it. I never would have thought in a million years that that would have been something she even would have told me that she was doing. But what really brought me to emotions when you were talking to that, and it's bringing a lot right now too, is because I had to be the example. I had to be the example. And me being the example was at 14, me leaving the house. Mm. And me choosing me. And throughout my journey, me staying away to choose me. Whew. And even like now, as I'm entering back into that relationship, I'm still knowing how to choose me first and then be able to be in that space to receive that love that she gives me, but not expect it to be what she shows me in the way that she knows, because I'm showing her a new way to love, a new way to show up, a new way to be understanding. And even this Mother Day experience that I just had speaking to her, she shared something that I like really celebrated her for, because my mother has beat cancer twice. She had lung cancer, she had breast cancer actually 3 times. She had breast cancer twice, and she beat it. But one of the things was she would still smoke cigarettes, and everyone was like, okay, so like, okay, you're playing with fire. How many times do you want to get burned? But I know, like, when you're trying to force someone to do something, it actually pushes them closer to it versus away from it. So I've learned just let people do things at their own time and when they really are ready to commit to it. And she shared to me, my mother went from smoking like 3, maybe almost 4 packs of cigarettes a week to now she's down to even one a day. She's been doing the patches. She's like really making changes. And I like really applauded her and I like celebrated her and really just wanted her to know like I see you, because that's been something she's been trying to overcome forever. Even with all the severe, like the seriousness of the condition she's faced, she's been really trying to let it go, but it's been something that has been hard for her to do. And on her own time, with her own choice and her own willingness, she's committed to it to where now she has to go. She's like, by September, I don't want them at all. And before it would just be something I would hear and be like, girl, I hear you. I hear you. But her actions are matching her words because of the work and the commitment she's willing to do for herself. And I'm like, you know what? Keep being the example, and you will start to see how they shift, not from your projections, not from your preaching, but from you just like being that. And when I say be the example, it's not like, oh, I'm healed and I'm holier than thou or I'm at this high mountain, but being the example of what love is, compassion is, understanding is. And that creates the space for new things to emerge and come to life versus if I'm still stuck in what I think you should be and who I should be, nothing can really be one because we're still in our place of separation. And I'll end it there.
Thank you for sharing. I really do appreciate that. uh, man, what is coming up for me was how my mom's been on her own releasing smoking journey, and I think she stopped in. It's been a couple years. Like when I like sometime when I moved out to LA, I think she finally was like serious about it. Um, so it's been like I would say at least 7 years, at least seven
Wow.
years, and I really do applaud her for that. Absolutely, and it kind of amazes me that she doesn't smoke anymore. Um, because that's how I knew her growing up. You know, like my mom smokes Salem 100s. We drive all the way to Indiana to get them cheaper. Like that was just like a part of my understanding of her. Um, and I rem- I remember when I like first went to visit her or stay with her as an adult, and she had quit smoking. Um, I was a little hurt at first. I'm not gonna lie, because there was a time when I was younger, and I was again maybe like 7 or 8, and she had left a cigarette burning in her ashtray in her room. And being a curious child, seeing their mother smoking all the time, right? Seeing people in their family, not just my mom, not trying to single her out, but very common thing to see people smoking. I was like, let me try this. Let me try this out. Let me see what this is about. And I was disgusted. And I was like, this is gross. And it smells bad. And I know that people have been telling me that smoking is bad and it's not good for your body. And it doesn't even like taste good. And I was like, oh no. And so I took it upon myself to support her, and I threw a carton of her cigarettes away in the outside trash can, not even like the kitchen trash can. I took that box and I was like, Kagoon! And I felt like I did a thing. I was like, this is gonna be so helpful for her because now she doesn't have them. She's not gonna want to smoke them. But I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. I don't remember if I got a whooping for it, but I do remember she was very upset. I might have blacked out the whooping part, but I do remember she was very upset, and I was really confused. I was really confused, and I can kind of laugh about it now, but as a child, I'm recognizing how disorienting that experience was, because I had heard her talk about wanting to quit, and I had experienced the taste of it for myself, and I was like, this should definitely be something, right? And I thought I was helping, and I got disciplined for caring. And as a child, that is again just very disorienting, and it planted a seed in me, that I can say now, of feeling like I was not a priority for her, and feeling like there was nothing I could do to actually help or like support, you know? Um, and I just felt like, and this might sound kind of heavy, um, and I felt like I was watching her kill herself slowly. And it's bringing up emotions for me because when you're a child and this person is your sole provider, you want them to live, right? Like you want them to be well. Um, but then you're kind of realizing that they'd rather choose to slowly decay their body, even though you're here. Even though you're their child and they say they love you and they want to be there for you. Um, it just it was very bizarre. Now that I'm like, this is the first time I'm really unpacking it in this way, healing conversations, right? So um, there was that. And also when I was in high school, um, I had an asthma attack, and like it really felt like my airway was like this. And interestingly enough, I recognized that I got a little breath work training via sports, and also through this officer that came in for a dare class and kind of taught us how to breathe through our anger. So I kind of had some tools in my pocket. And so I was being very like slow and intentional with my breath and just being mindful, like, okay, just get the air out slowly, get the air in slowly, and like however best I could breathe. And on our way to the emergency room, she lit a cigarette. And I'm sitting here in the passenger seat, focusing so intently on my breath, like really trying to stay conscious because I'm like, if I stop breathing, then I'll go unconscious. And I don't want it to be that big of a thing, right? But I'm like, I just remember looking at her and just being like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, I'm having an asthma attack and you're smoking a cigarette on our way to the ER. And so, taking it back to that time as an adult when I was spending time with my mom, and she quit smoking of her own volition once I was moved out and everything, I was a little hurt. I did feel a little disrespected because throughout my entire childhood, this was a conversation, and I felt like I had like sacrificed my young lungs and my young heart wanting her to be released from that, but it didn't happen until she was ready in her own time. And that's something that I've had to learn to accept and release the animosity around. Because, like, again, as a child, we are, and she really did her best to love me and be affectionate and give me freedom to be weird, and loud. That's something I'm very grateful to my mother about, is that she did let me be quirky and weird and obnoxious to a point. And I know a lot of people didn't get that, fed me very well, taught me how to cook and take care of myself. And a lot of people don't have that, right? And I can say that throughout that experience, I did have that little seed of, why am I not enough to encourage you to take this step for your life? You know? Um, and yeah, just being a child, I feel like there's this because being a child parent relationship is a lifetime relationship. They say there's reasons, seasons, and lifetimes. Your parents are a lifetime. Regardless if you are estranged from them or if you're um, adopted out and you don't know your natural birth parents, right? Like, if you're alive and they're alive, there's some opportunity for y'all to like exchange paths and have some sort of relationship, and for it to transform you and to change you for your entire life, for their entire life. Like that dynamic and that opportunity is there. And so, just knowing that that relationship is still unfolding and evolving and shifting and changing. Um, Now I can have more peace with those moments, and I can honor and nurture my inner child and let little Angelique know that it was never her responsibility to fix or to change anyone, and that she is enough, and that she is worthy of love, and that her heart is so big and full and just ready to pour into people. And it's okay if those people may not be ready to receive it, right? Like, just knowing that little me, has a heart that is even that big is beautiful in and of itself. And I'm so grateful for this work and for this understanding, because that is how the healing happens. Hey, Dr. Tori, that is how the healing happens, because we are each living our own individual experiences. And if I'm so concerned with someone else affecting my experience, I'm not really living my own experience. I can't get the healing if I am expecting someone else to love me enough, or to see me enough, or to think I'm enough. I have to do that for myself. Yeah, and I'll just
Nah,
let
the
that
onions
be.
are out today. This is onions. We got onion Saturday. This is what this is going to be called because the tears are flowing. I wanted to read
Mm,
Sister Jessica's comment. She says that's difficult in the way of confusion at such a tender age.
mm,
Mm. It's so much, and I just want to just speak to how you just so I for one want to shout us both out because what we're doing right now is very powerful.
mm,
It's very courageous. It's very bold because we're literally allowing ourselves to process, feel, and heal in this present moment in front of you all. Like this is real lifetime us speaking through things that we're like, oh wait, oh like we're connecting dots, which is making the tears flow out. So celebrate and shout out to you and me, Sister Angelique, because this is I feel the weight lifting off of me. But I wanted to speak to like even like how like you had the interpretation as a child when you were wanting your mother to stop smoking. And it's like, am I not enough for you to stop? Am I not enough for you to stay alive?
mm,
And even like when you moved out and she chose to, why wasn't I enough for you to do it then? And why are you choosing to do it now? And I wanted to speak to that because that story that we create and those emotions that we're not aware at times of how to feel, process, release, and let go is how we start to see ourselves when it comes to friendships. I'm not enough, so I'm just not going to give that much.
mm,
Or I'm not enough, so let me give more than enough so you can see how enough I am.
mm-hmm,
Or in relationships, or just different things that we are encountering in our adult life. A lot of those deep rooted beliefs and those deep rooted stories are what continues to circulate and it continues to be the blocks in which keeps us from really sharing all of us with people. And a lot of times there's that little hurt little boy, that hurt little girl that's like, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to feel unworthy. So I'm just going to stay to myself and keep it in, or I'm going to give more of myself so I can receive more in. And that's the cycle that when we say earlier, like we are able to break, is by us not just acknowledging the dynamics in the relationships between our parents, but honoring that relationship that we may not have built and need to build with our younger selves. Because a lot of times, like for me, I battled with abandonment, I battled with unworthiness, I battled with rejection. And of course, as within, so without. So I noticed a lot of times I was attracting people and things that made me feel that way. But if I'm being completely honest, I was abandoning myself. I was rejecting myself. I didn't feel worthy within myself, so I wasn't treating myself as someone who was worthy. And I was unconsciously repeating the patterns, repeating the cycles, repeating the things that happened to me because that's all I knew. That's all I knew. And I had to choose to want to see what was outside of what I knew. And that's where that healing work comes in. But y'all, it ain't easy. Because I like to say as a child, like we have different safes in the sense that we just store things in. And this happens, okay, and then with this stored in here. So I like to say it's our toy boxes that we have, and we'll have the toy box of anger, the toy box of sadness, the toy box of abandonment, the toy box of rejection, and we just like, okay, let's just store it. But it becomes our collectors as adults until we allow ourselves to let it go. So the fact that, and when I say store it, I mean the emotions we store. And that's where a lot of times we're triggered by things and people and just situations. And even that day of Mother's Day, it triggers a lot of people because there's unfelt, unprocessed emotions that you have stored within yourself. That life is always, see this thing called universe, you know how you hear life is always for you and it's never against you and it's always pulling you. A lot of times we hear that, we're like, well, why I gotta deal with this? Why I gotta deal with that? Why this gotta happen? But when you open yourself up to shift the lens and what you're seeing, beyond life, just this universal experience as and being in, you're able to really see that this universe is progressive and it's always moving forward. But what keeps us, and think about a visual, like if you have a wagon and it has a little stuff in it, you can drag it and take it wherever it is that you want to go. But the more stuff you put in that wagon, it's harder to pull. It's harder to I don't want to say to transport, to like move around and just to just be able to move through. And a lot of times we're holding so much in the wagon that when life is trying to push us, we just stay stuck there. But how the universe works is it's like, okay, let me trigger that sadness through this experience so you can release it and let it go to create space so you can have new emotions flow through you. But a lot of times when we don't have the practice, when we don't have the awareness, when we don't have the commitment, it's easy to fall back into the avoidance. Okay, let me just go back to the toy box of avoidance. I got a lot of toys there that I can play with that'll keep me preoccupied so I don't have to face the thing, face the person, face the situation. And when you allow yourself just to honor, you're able to see how liberating and freeing that truly is. Because then you realize, like, it's not about anyone or anything, it's about what life wants to release from you. Because what's coming strong from you, like in this moment, is there's a little I and a big I. The little I is the identity that we've created in regards to this physical character that I'm playing called Raymel. And this physical character I'm playing called Raymel has experienced trauma, has experienced heartache, has experienced pain, has experienced abuse, has experienced all the things. And he's created this identity. He's created this idea of who he is, what he is, which is often a limited what is true for who he truly is. So there's this sense of disconnection. There's this sense of seeing the lens and everyone as a certain way and being a certain thing. But then there's this big I who knows that he isn't even this body called Raymel. He is experiencing Raymel. And I'm about to get a little woo-woo on y'all, but I have to bring this because there's a version of you that has not been hurt, that has not experienced pain, that has not experienced trauma, that has absorbed the hurt, that's absorbed the pain and the trauma, but it isn't who you are. And a lot of times we get lost in this little I, that's all that we allow ourselves to be. And I know for me, I've been intentionally, consciously just allowing myself to evolve into that highest expression of myself, who is the big I, who is the absorber, who is the observer, I should say, the experiencer of Raymel having this experience. And the more I connect to him, I literally will be somewhere and be like, look at God, look at God, look at God. Like everyone and everything, I'm able to see that presence in. And when I see things and see people, I see so much love and compassion. I see so much beauty. I see so much just oneness. And I couldn't see that from the little I, because the little I is like, oh, you over there, your race, your gender, your sexual preference, your financial status, either put you above me or below me. But when you're in that space of the big I, the capital I, you're like, but that doesn't even exist, because it doesn't matter. Because we're so much more than that. And even seeing, like, as I'm talking about the mother experience and my mother, it's really not about her when I really get to the root of it. It's about what I have accumulated in regards to experiences I've had with her, that the little I has projected out as who she is and what she is, but it truly isn't the truth. And the more I'm releasing that little I's interpretation, I'm able to show up as the capital I in our interactions and conversations. And I just want to love on her. I'm like, you little cute little thing, you. I hear you. Like, you little cute little, look at you. And it's not a force. It's genuinely how I feel. And even when I think about her, and my mind used to resort back to the arguments or to the dysfunction. But if I'm being truthful now, my mind goes to, she is just so special. She is just so beautiful. And the thing is, I look just like my mother. I'm a twin. We are twins. Like, and I cannot see her because I see myself. But when you get to the root of it, I cannot see her because beyond this realm, we're one. There is no separation. So as I start to release all of those things that the little I has accumulated, now I can truly be in it and allow it to be what it is versus what I expected it to be. I'll end it there because I know I just said a lot, but I feel like that needed to be expressed.
Yes. And I really like that, seeing I love like you said, you cute little thing, you know, like because as people age in general and become elders, we often, I'll say in society in general, there's either the like, leave them alone, they're old and crotchety, and just let them exist by themselves in isolation. Or there's like this over coddling and saying, like, I don't think you're capable of doing things, right? And I like the way that you put it, because where that saying something like that can lean towards the like infantilizing someone, the way you're saying it is more with like love and holding her in like a preciousness. And throughout the adult human experience, we don't really receive that energy of, oh, you're so precious. Like people care about the babies and the children and the teens and even the college students. But once you're like 25, 30 to like 60 years old, people are just like, you're here. Hello. And then once we kind of hit that the elder age, um, and like honestly, people in their 60s now are very like still very fresh. You feel me? I know there was a time, um, maybe even like the 80s or 90s, like being 60 was like, okay, you're an elder. You're out
You
there.
over here dinosaurs before BC. You and BC years.
You are BC time. He's back there with Jesus. But now that people are, healthcare and things of that nature, and just the idea of age has shifted, and people are taking better care of themselves, you know, that elderness doesn't, I feel like it doesn't really hit to like 70 or 80, you know? Um, and it's beautiful when we can go from like seeing people who like our parents, I'll keep it in this range because this is the conversation we're having. It's beautiful when we can go from seeing this person as my mother, somebody who takes care of me, who I have all these expectations for, who I have all these memories and experiences of, and I'm making these judgments, to seeing them as a human being that I can pour into and that I can love and that I can see as precious. And I know your mom isn't like up there yet, but you're building that care now. You're building that understanding now. You're building that appreciation now. So as the years progress and, God willing, her life is beautiful and long, um, you will already have that foundation, like, and it's, same on my side because I have also been working on my relationship with my mother, right? So as like the next 20, 30 years go by, and she's in her elder age, I can hold her with love instead of being like, this lady, gotta find somewhere to put her and, whatever, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that is so inconvenient for my life. Um, I can hold her with love. And here's the thing, that doesn't mean if she needs somewhere to stay, I'm gonna let her live with me. And I don't mean any tea or shade. However, I will do my due diligence in finding a space that is comfortable for her, that she feels happy in, that she feels cared for, that she feels taken care of, where the people are doing a high quality job to take care of the facility and the experience. Absolutely. One of the reasons that I am aiming to increase my financial freedom and flexibility and spending power is so that I can make sure that that experience is sound for her. Like I know she has like her own, she's a very independent person and she has like her own like ideas about life or whatever. And I also know that certain things as people get older, that independence may shift. And that's okay. And it's important to be prepared for that as well. And I think a lot of times, some of the stories I've shared here, if I were, it's like Raymel was saying, if I was still in that space of thinking I'm not enough, either I'm going to step back and not do anything, and I'm going to neglect, and I'm going to abandon, or I'm going to overextend myself and say I have to be her caretaker. I have to do all the things. I have to be the hero. However, since I've been doing this work, I recognize that neither of those are an appropriate option for me. right? I don't have to be spiteful and abandon her. And I don't have to completely upend and derail my life to be the sole provider for her. You feel me? There are other options. And the option that I'm choosing in this season is to be financially sound enough to ensure that her life, if it gets to that point where I am responsible in that sort of capacity, I can make sure that it's comfortable. And it's beautiful when we can do this work, especially when it comes to parents and elders. Um, because I've been learning this year, especially just how overlooked that population is because we're kind of living in a world that they constructed, and again, as children, we have these experiences and we have these hurts and we have these pains and we have all these unhealed things. And so we're like, well, now that you're old and incapable of taking care of yourself, I'm going to take it out on you. And that's where the elder abuse comes. That's where the neglect. That's where, they're over there and they're a hermit and nobody's talked to them for 6 years, right? But that's not a way where the world becomes a loving world. That is not a way where society becomes a loving society. And I feel, and I invite us all to really examine our relationships with our parents or our caretakers, especially as adults now, um, and see if there are any seeds of animosity or hatred. See if there's any ideas within us that's like, if my uncle, he's getting old, and if he tries to ask me for help, I'm gonna just be like, no. And just because he did this and blah, 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 blah. I invite you to investigate that. Because if there's any shadow of anger or hatred in our hearts, it's going to seep into every other aspect of our life, every other relationship that we have. And I want us to be free, and I want the world to be loving. And so I'm inviting us all and encouraging us all to unpack that. And yeah.
But it's not going to be easy. And that's where, like, the real work comes in. Because, once again, the little I is going to find every reason why you shouldn't. And every reason why they don't deserve or whatever
Mm.
the thing. And that's where you have to be willing to move through that voice, move through those stories in the photo album that the mind has created from your childhood and just throughout your life, because that's where your references that is gonna be like, but look at this, but look at this. You sure? Look at this, and it's gonna make you, because the mind needs, it stays in what it knows. So if it only knows that and it's seen that, then that's what it's gonna just think. That's all there is. But you have to be willing to say, you know what? I know that that's the past, but let me see what I can create in this present moment.
Mm.
That can be what the future can be. And that's where it's not easy, because the mind is not something that is just an easy. Think about a computer and you're trying to decode it, recode it, and you've never had any experience with it. That computer is going to be, it's going to overwhelm you, it's going to frustrate you, irritate you, make you want to throw it across the room, because you're like, why can't I just know these codes? And it's like, but it's the same thing with the human mind.
Mm.
Because it's the little small things that really make a big difference, but it's the repetition, it's the consistency, it's the continuous practice
Yes.
of even telling yourself that you are enough, taking moments to breathe. Like, all of those little things add up and they make a big effect where you're able to even hold that space for grace and be able to allow new things to come in because you're letting old things go. And it's not easy. I just want to reiterate that, because if it was, a lot of people will be doing it. And that's where there's only there's a lot of people who are just stuck in the numbing. That's why you see they promote turn up, go to this thing, do this thing, avoid it, run from it, don't deal with it, don't face it, because unfortunately, this world that we live in, I won't say it was created onto trauma, but it was built with a history of trauma. And even in the current times, if you see certain things, it's going to trigger you in a traumatic way. And a lot of times we think it's the left, it's the right, it's the front, it's the back. It's none of that. But what it is they know how to activate what hasn't been regulated within you. By triggering this thing, cueing the next thing, cueing the next thing. So this world that we live in, if they promoted healing the same way they promote the chaos and the drama, they wouldn't have a way to control you. They wouldn't have a way to separate you. They wouldn't have a way to manipulate you. So their way of keeping you in that puppet mentality way of being is to not promote to you the healing work, the self-development work that will empower you. So that's why this invitation that Sister Angelique is giving you, I invite you to really just, if nothing more, be curious about it. And let that curiosity lead you to the next thing that will support you in exploring it. And just keep exploring it, and you'll start to see how things shift and change in your life. And it's the small changes that you start to be like, oh, I can do this. It's like if you're working out and you start to see a certain part of your body like improve. Oh, it's working. Oh, it's working. Okay. And that's the same thing with this, because it's a forever journey, because there's a lot that we have all accumulated individually and collectively. But the more we release, the more we're able to free ourselves, and that's how you elevate. Beyond, like in elevation, when you think of it, like a balloon can't elevate if it has weights keeping it down. But the moment you take the weights off, the balloon is free. It's flowing. It's going. It's floating. And that's how it is in the elevation of the eternal realm. Whatever keeps you weighted down, you feel stuck in. And what you feel stuck in, you're judging. You're feeling ashamed about it. You are attracting people that resemble it and mirror it. So you're just thinking that these are my people and this is my community. But what you're stuck in is dysfunction and hurt, anger, and pain. And that is not liberating, it's imprisoning. Because you're keeping yourself in this internal prison, feeling like there's no way out. But you've always held the key. You've always held the key. So how do you set yourself free is doing the inner work. And falling and getting back up. Doing it scared. Doing it even when you don't feel like it. Like, do it, and you will see that it truly works. Alright, so before we wrap it up, I feel like we should tell
Hold on, I just want to say something real quick on that point. Because this is something that you share often, where it's like, you don't have to go digging through the trash can for these. You don't have to sit in some 2-hour meditation to unpack your childhood to figure out, let me go try and find a trigger. Like Raymel mentioned earlier, the universe brings us situations that will spark that trigger so we can release. So the invitation really is, when the universe triggers you, when it sparks that sadness, that feeling of abandonment, it sparks that irritation, that frustration, that loneliness, that's when we sit and we do the work. We process it then. And if you're somewhere out in public, take a moment, find somewhere, even just 2 minutes, to just sit and process for a little bit. And then if it's still irking you when you get back to your private domicile, then yes, take the time to do that. But we don't have to go through our whole Rolodex of memories and be like, well, in 1985, this person did this thing to me. Maybe I'll reflect on that and see what that's about. No, it'll come up. Somebody at the grocery store will look at you sideways. I saw some children today. Raymel was talking about how his mom wasn't was always loving him, but maybe didn't have that capacity to show it in the way that he wanted, right? And I saw this mom with some kids in a grocery store this morning, and one of the little girls, she I don't know what was going on, it was kind of a little chaotic, but she had this sucker and she was just making the saddest face, and like the mom was like, I don't even know why you da 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 da, and just kind of tearing into them a little bit. And all I did was just like smile at this little girl because I know that she's having a challenging moment, and I know that her life may be challenging, right? Just from the personality that was coming forth from the mother. But just something in my heart knew like there's still love there for her. There's like this situation happening in this, the cereal aisle at the grocery store, but there's still love there for her. And if she's not seeing it from her mom right now, I'm going to show her by like smiling, just being a kind stranger, sending her the energy of it's okay. Like you're gonna be okay. So yeah, I just wanted to drop that in there because I always appreciate when Raymel reminds us like we don't have to go digging for stuff. Things just pop up. And that situation could have been a little triggering for me if I was someone who hadn't been doing my work. Because previously, I do remember seeing moms, go off on their kids in grocery stores or at the park or something and being like really irritated and angry about it. But I've been able to do my work and be a presence of love now. So, yes, but go ahead, Ravel. Our announcement.
I love that. All right, y'all. So we have an announcement in regards to the expansion of Healing Conversations. Y'all know, if you don't know, now you know. But
No, you
those who've been
know.
on this trip with us for a while, we meet every Saturday here via social media, Instagram, and we have these conversations. And we wanted to like have something that you don't have to be on an app and like tune in, and you can be anywhere, doing anything, whether you're walking, working out, doing
Cooking.
whatever. Like you have access to an extended conversation. So Sister Angelique and I are starting Healing Conversations podcast.
Podcast.
And and this with the intent, the same thing is to have more. It is not too lengthy, but it's going to be something that you can just have access to anywhere, anytime, any place. That's going to keep this conversation going and flowing. And you'll have best of both, whether you can tune into the lives and catch us live or tune into the replay on social media, but you'll always have access to that. So that is the announcement, Healing Conversations podcast.
Yes.
Let them know when is it coming out and all of that.
Yes. We are launching the first episode on June 18th. So it will be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. I think iHeartRadio also. We're going to be putting on one of those distribution apps that puts it everywhere. So June 18th, make sure you tune in. Like Raymel said, the conversations are short. They are like these quick, powerful unpackings of
Thank you,
different topics. Thank
sister.
you, Jay. And we've already recorded a couple of episodes, so I can tell you for a fact it's good. It's good because you know how we get into conversation and we start, just healing and opening and being vulnerable, um, and just how that really does
Thank
create
you, Spencer.
just like space in our life to love, space in our life to embrace ourselves, to express more. So make sure you are tuning in, tapping in, looking on our profiles for the announcements. But June 18th is a Wednesday, and then every Wednesday there'll be 12 episodes in this first season. So you'll have 12 wonderful, juicy conversations to tune
So you know
into.
what I'm excited about too
Yeah.
is that not only will we be having a conversation, but we'll be having a featured guest. We'll have like two or a guest every month that we will like, and then the guest will be an expert in their field, whether it's something pertaining into healing, expansion, and growth. And it's really to support beyond us just in the flow of conversation, but now to give you invitations and action steps and awareness on an in-depth way. So
Yes.
we're really intentional, which is not making this another podcast that you listen to. The intention really is for you to have that safe space to grow, to expand, to release, and to have someone on this journey with you. Because doing it alone, we can feel lonely, but it's like knowing that you have people who are not across the street, around the corner, in a different place, but it's like we're literally on this journey walking with you. And
Mm-hmm.
we always say we're no experts. We just learning and growing. As y'all seen, we just had a whole killing session live in front of y'all today. So this
Mm-hmm.
is real life. But I love to be the example. Because a lot of times people can tell you, feel your feelings, let them go. And they're like, how do you do that? You just seen real life time, Sister Angelique and I, feeling our feelings as
Mm-hmm.
she was inviting you to process them. And like, we literally just showed you that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's us just on this journey, growing and expanding with you. And it's my honor and my just, oh, I get, just feel it, let it go. But it is my honor. And I'm so grateful that I am able to hold this space with you, Sister Angelique, and to
Mm-hmm.
be in this space of like creating something that I know is bigger than us both, but I know that it's not only what will be of service to others, but it's really us being of service to ourselves. So I just thank you, and I'm honored to just create this with you because it's bigger than us, and I know that. I knew when we decided to do this just in the social media realm, like it would be a big thing, and I didn't know how it would look or what it would be. I just knew to say yes, and just seeing how it's continuously expanding and evolving. I'm just grateful, and it truly is a pleasure.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Because I know there were certain ideas and expectations that I was having, but I was like, just be open and see what unfolds. Um, One of the reasons that I wanted to do this was to spend more time with you, because I felt like we were close and we were, you know, family and community, but I felt like there was so much more that could come from us being and sharing space together, and it has been, and it is continuing to be, and I'm really grateful um, that things have unfolded this way. So I also thank you for your yes, and yeah, and there are some other ideas and things that we are working on. So yeah, just make sure you stay tuned in. And again, this podcast is not just like a sit and listen and just be there and then turn it off and I'm entertained. No, you're gonna get you a healing conversation notebook.
No, but that part. Okay, if you ain't got
Because
one already,
every
go ahead and grab
episode
it.
every episode we're giving you 3 tools, 3 action steps to take away, and we invite you, we encourage you to comment, reach out, DM, email us, let us know, because you are not on this journey alone. And like Raymel said, this podcast is really an expansion of that um, invitation to let you know that you are welcome here and that your healing matters. So get your notebook, get yourself ready.
Yes.
June 18th, we're going to
June
be out
18th, we
here.
definitely are going to be promoing and all the things to kind of build it up. But we want to let y'all know because y'all live in
Yeah.
person in this space of healing conversation, and it don't stop there. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Hey, Richard, and I'm grateful for y'all. This phone is about to die, so I got to get off so it will save this live, okay? Because it will be a mess. This was a good live, so I
Yes.
want to save it. But I appreciate y'all. I think the hearts got to be okay.
There you go.
Ow! Until next week, we will see y'all soon. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.